Welcome to the channel, and are you getting into chess? Are you a beginner? If you're a beginner, you have a lot of questions. What first move do I play? I literally got that question the other day. You'll learn a little bit more and you'll say, what openings do I play? Most likely, if you're somewhat new or you've played under 50 games, you probably wonder, like, what should I try to do during a game? Past like putting out just general development. Actually, that in itself is something that beginners often don't know is to develop. But so I'm going to do, this is actually a request from somebody. I'm going to focus on openings in this video. Maybe this will be like a master class throughout like the whole spectrum of trying to teach beginners. So I'm just going to start. So if you were to talk to me at a public place and you were to say, hey, guy, and I'm going to keep this here. Yeah, that should be fine. Hey, guy, what's the best first move for a chess game? Let's just say we're talking about white. I would say, okay, well, to make it very simply and then not explain as deeply as I could and would probably like to, the best first moves are probably e4 or d4. This is perfectly fine. That's knight f3, by the way. C4 is perfectly fine, although the analysis bar doesn't like it as much. But believe me, it's perfectly fine. At this and this, I think these are... Now that one's even worse, but this little thing, e3, is even acceptable. But it's pretty clear that e4 and e5 are going to be your top two picks. Now, e4 is what I play, and if I don't actually think that there's one that rules out the other one. E4 and d4 are the top two. Just leave it at that. But anyways, with that being said, I play e4. So, what can a game look like? The most common thing to get after e4 is e5. In this situation, and we're not going to go deep into this, but I'm just going to tell you, you know, what I know that a beginner would need to know. The most common move after that is this. Now, I'm going to spend very little time explaining this, but there's also a move, which is this, which is the Vienna. I have heard from players at the top level that this is not what people at the top level do. After like a very low ceiling, players don't do this anymore. I found other issues with playing this that are just really personal preference things, but at the end of the day, I decided not to put any time into a way of playing that has a kind of a lower ceiling on it. Like, I want to get to a very high level at some point in the future. So I just don't think there's much point to it. So with that being said, I play knight to f3. The most common thing against knight to f3 is knight to c6, but there's also this, which is called the Petrov, or the Russian defense, I think is kind of like a less known name of it. Generally speaking, if you just continue developing your pieces, let's say you do this and then you do this. This is, I think, the most common, one of the most common openings for these. Like if you start with e4 is the Italian. And let's say you just play like this. Let's say you do something like this. If you looked at the accuracy for this game, at this point right now, it's like 100% accuracy for both players. If not, like high 98s or something. Nobody has made any mistakes. In fact, I'm actually curious. The fact that it says 0.2 means that it's completely no. that was okay. But anyways, point made. Now, how do I play? I know I was gonna get into openings. I absolutely am. That was just a little bit of I'm just kind of trying to explain this like I would to somebody if I was sitting across from you. I started and I played. I still sometimes play this according to which time control. I play the Ponziani very often. I learned it from Gotham Chess videos. I'm not going to try and act like I'm not a Gotham Chess subscriber. It's probably the first channel I ever subscribed to. And I probably didn't subscribe to another one for a very long time after that. But anyways, and look at me now, I'm a YouTuber. So after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, you go here, which is a bit of an odd move, maybe at first glance, because that's normally where you would develop your knight. But there's what is called venom to this. There's ways that, you know, not the Tom Hardy venom, not that I'm gonna eat your face venom, but there's a lot of traps to look for to try and trick your opponent. But if not, it's so solid. It's even been said that it's hard to look for an advantage in this opening if black plays very accurately. So, but a lot of times they don't, especially at lower levels. If they play something like this, so if you can see, and I'm gonna make sure you can, yeah. So this bar on the side to the left there, that's the eval bar. And it already says whitest point is 1 point of evaluation better, which is like equal to a pawn, is the way I understand that. You're like, well, that's crazy. We just made like 3 or 4 moves. Yeah, I mean, that's chess. The point is, after this and this, which is like the only move, and this, you either have this move or this move. Now, if you, as a beginner, if they go back, I'm going to say go here. It's actually, I think, considered the best move. You can also push if you want to look in on chess.com or wherever and look at like the best moves and try and learn theory, which is what ultimately a chess player does. You can push here, and then after this, like I think you can even just like keep on pushing. And like, for example, if they take right here, even though they just won a pawn, I don't even think you want to take back for the queen. This just suffocates their position. Like, how does their bishop get out, right? I don't know the full theory on that, even though I've told myself I was going to look along many times. But if not, after this and check, which is probably the more common thing at lower levels than this, it seems like very often you'll get this and this. And now you're 1.5 points of evaluation higher. You have a big center. You know, white's going to try and do random things like this. And there's just, sorry, I paused because there's actually some traps here. But right here, you're almost 2 points of evaluation better. I don't know all the right moves here, but like, let's actually turn the suggestion arrows on real quick, just to show like if you played perfect play, there is this way of doing this. Obviously, I'm showing you. You can really take advantage of the game with this much evaluation advantage. So we're castling like that also, but how would the computer go for an advantage here? It wants to go here. And then it's got black making these weird moves like this. And then you're going f4. So anytime that you can get f4 and just start pushing pawns like this, like now it is 2 point advantage almost. This is how you take it. Now I'm probably getting a little bit deep for beginners, but let's just go back to some other lines. Actually, let's talk about if they play. We're gonna do this. What if they play here? Okay, so then you do this. It's the same move, d4, and they can go here. And then I've seen the engine say both, like bishop here or queen here, and they try and seal this in. And actually, surprisingly, the engine really doesn't like this. But here's the thing. You're a beginner. You're trying to learn chess. This is a crazy move. Let's look at this. If they take, you just take here. That's probably not going to happen in an 800 game unless they just blunder it. But if you're just trying to learn chess, you want to know how to develop and just have a fighting chance, and then you play chess. I mean, that's mostly what the opening is for, unless you get to higher levels to where you're looking for little minute advantages, but that's not where we're at. So if I want to say there are some traps. So let's say they do this, which I think is by far the most common move, and you do this. Okay, perfect example. This is probably the most common move, but what if they go here? So now they're like, I have 2 pieces attacking this pawn, so you go here. Okay, let's say they bring their queen out or something like this. Okay, well, you go here, and now where does the knight go? It's crazy that it thinks maybe you should put it right there, although there is a pin going right now. But often you'll have opponents go here, and then you upset their pawn structure. So this is plus 1.7 evaluation. One thing to know about opening playing chess is that if you can do this with their pawns, as a general rule, because all the rules of this game can be broken, it's better for you. So, like, you want to castle your king later in the game, right? Okay, so let's say we do this, and I'm gonna take the arrows back off because they're gonna make me look stupid. And they like do this, and you castle, and then they castle. Well, now there's this open file right in front of their king, so you have security, and they don't have as much security. Yeah, is the bishop there? But the main goal of the bishop, first off, this bishop is terrible because it can't really go anywhere. It can't go here. They're going to have to waste another move doing this. But this bishop doesn't want to just sit here being a pawn. You have to make your pieces active, more active than your opponents, and then they'll win. What does active mean? It means like this knight covers these squares. This knight here, it covers, all these squares. This knight covers all these squares. What does this bishop cover? It covers this square, and it literally can't go here because I'll take it. This knight, it can't go here. It can't go here. It can go here. It's just, that's another little, we're going to do this, new analysis, another little tidbit about chess. So let's look at the Italian a little bit. That's what I've been playing, trying to get into more. It's perfectly fine for for beginners. So let's say, I mean, this is honestly probably the most common first moves of a chess game. This right here. So there's actually like different ways of playing the Italian. So let's say they do something like this. You can do what is called an aggressive Italian, where you push the pawn here, but it is possible, and it is powerful, because after this you have this. That's basically, in a nutshell, the entire reason why you can do that. That's not as much beginner stuff. As a beginner, you're probably going to do something like this, which is interesting because we just talked about the Ponziani, and then you build this later. Now, I'm getting my move orders messed up. In this situation, you probably wouldn't want to. Like, let's say they do this, then, you could potentially do this because you're looking for this d4 pawn break. But after they do this, then you have to go here, and then they might castle, and then it's common to do this, but you got to think about, do you want to give up your bishop just for no reason at all, except for like you just didn't know what else to do. I can tell you right now, there's no reason to do this. This doesn't help anything. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine earlier about that exact idea. But and then, you know, if you went back with a bishop here after this and this, what is your bishop doing? Like, you might start to see something like this, which it's saying is a bad move, but like, you know, let's say white is a beginner, so they don't do anything crazy. So you take here, and then they do this, and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So you move back, and then they do this, and like you can't really, like, where is this knight gonna go? It can't go here. It can go here. That's actually not a bad square for it, but like, as you can see, black's a little bit better. I'm probably going a little bit deep in this. I'm not going to pretend that this is all like figured out and staged and ready, but just generally speaking, you can play like this and just develop and castle your king as soon as you get the chance. Now, I'll probably just let this be an e4 video, and my next video I'll do d4. That would be a good idea, I think.